Hey everybody, so in this video, I'm going to talk about how to get your dog to come when you call them. Leo, come! Yes! Luna, come! Yes! Good girl, nice! These videos are mainly for puppies and dogs who are in the beginning stages of recall training. Remember, training is a lifelong endeavor. You'll always have to put in some work to maintain your dog's behavior. If you stop training, your dog will probably stop listening. So some prerequisites, some things we want our dog to have before we start training. First, we want our dog to be food motivated. Food is one of the most effective motivators for training and teaching a recall. Olive, come. Yes, good girl, yeah mama. We also have a separate video on building food drive. So if your dog doesn't like food, make sure to watch that video. The next thing that your dog should understand is a marker. We have a separate video on markers, so make sure to watch that, but I'll just go over the markers really quick here. A marker is a sound that your dog associates with a reward. In our system, we use yes. So anytime we say yes, we always give our dog food right after. Leo, come. Yes. So what command do you use? You're gonna say your dog's name followed by come. Remember, dogs don't hear words, they just hear sounds. So make sure to say come in a very distinct, unique tone. Make sure it sounds the same every time, make sure it's consistent. Whenever we give commands, we want our tone to mimic the attitude we want our dog to have. So with recalls, we want our dog to be very excited and energetic about doing it. So when we say come, we generally say it in a higher pitch tone of voice. We say it usually in an energetic tone. You also want to make sure that you say it loud enough that your dog for sure hears you, especially on a day like this. There's a lot of wind. If I mumble it, if I say Olive, come, she's probably not going to hear me. She's probably not going to respond. Olive, come. Olive, come. So make sure to say it in the right tone. Olive, come. Yes! What we want our dogs to do when we call them is we want them to stop doing whatever they're doing. Olive, come. We want them to come back to us. Yes! And then once they get to us, we want them to stay until we release them. Yes, that's a good girl. Okay, free. But we don't want them getting into the habit of leaving when they want to leave. We want them to wait until we give them permission to leave. So if your dog is getting into the habit of what we call dining and dashing, that means they come back, they get the treat, and then they just automatically leave. Olive, come. Yes! We don't want that to become a habit. Dogs that are doing that, a lot of times we'll give them a jackpot. So we'll give them multiple rewards. Olive, come. Yes. Girl. Yes. Very nice. Yes. Girl. Okay, free. Now with young puppies or dogs just learning this, we don't ask them to stay with us very long. So usually once they come back, we'll give them one treat, and a lot of times we'll just release them right away. Gypsy, come. Yes, good, nice, nice, okay. So if we're calling our puppy back to us and then we're making them stay with us for a really long period of time, and it can actually make the recall boring and they can lose motivation. So with young dogs, we don't make them wait a really long time. Generally, quick reward, release, so that we can repeat the behavior again and we can do more repetitions. So how do you practice this? You can have your dog off leash at first. Some dogs, we recommend having a leash on them. We'll go over that a little bit later. But if your dog's highly food motivated, start off leash. Be in an enclosed area. So make sure it's fenced in, make sure they can't actually run off. So in your backyard or even in your house, it's a perfect place to start. You're gonna wait for your dog to be distracted. So wait for them to be looking off at something else other than you, maybe sniffing the ground, moving away from you. Distracted, moving away, that's when you're gonna call them. Mocha, come. No. Mocha, come. Yes. Oh. Olive, come. Yes. Leo, come. Yes. The reason that it's good to practice calling your dog when they're distracted is because in a real life scenario, that's most likely when you're going to need to call your dog. So if you can imagine in a real life scenario, you have your dog off leash and they start to run towards something or they start to go towards another dog or person, you want to have the ability to redirect their focus back onto you when they're focused on something else. Start off in a relatively low distraction environment. Don't first practice this at a dog park with a lot of stuff going on. Do it just by yourself at home. It's okay if there's other people in the house with you, but make sure everybody else is ignoring your dog when you call them. And that's where you want to first start this. Now, the most important part of recall training is how you respond when your dog starts to come towards you. So as soon as your dog starts to move in your direction, you need to say something that encourages them to keep doing that. Olive, come. Yes, good girl, yeah, mama. So you have a few options. First is you can either mark right away. Leo, come. Yes. So you call your dog, they start to move in your direction. Yes. And then at that point, you're going to get a treat out, give it to them when they get to you. Another option is you can praise your dog. Olive, come. Good girl, yeah, mama. So this would be you call your dog, they start to come towards you, you say, good, that's it, good. You talk to them in an encouraging tone until they get all the way to you, and then you can give them a treat. Both options are great. If your dog's highly food motivated, sometimes it's better to mark right away because they hear that word and then they start running to you really fast. But you can also use praise as well. The difference, yes means you have to give your dog a treat. With good or with praise, you don't have to give them a treat right away. That tells your dog, hey, keep doing what you're doing, and then eventually you might get a treat. Especially with puppies or dogs just learning this, if you call them, they start to come towards you, you don't say anything. Olive, come. So if I'm not giving her any feedback, you can see she just sort of loses interest. She's like, oh, nothing's happening. For the first week or so, usually we reward 100% of the time. So pretty much every single time our dog comes when we call them, we will give them food. If after the first week, our dog is doing really well, they're coming to us consistently, then we'll start reducing the rewards to maybe about 90%. So we're still rewarding the majority of the time. And over time, we can start to reduce the frequency of the reward maybe to about 50% of the time. Some dogs less than 50%. It really depends on your dog. But general rule of thumb is the more you're rewarding your dog for a behavior, the more likely they're going to do it again. So the more you reward recalls, the more likely they're going to come when you call them. If you stop rewarding your dog completely, there's a good chance they're gonna stop coming to you because there's really no incentive to do it. So always maintain some aspect of a reward throughout your dog's entire life, but for the first week or couple weeks or few weeks, you wanna reward very, very frequently. When you use food, make sure you're using the food as a reward and not as a bribe. That means you don't wanna get the food out before your dog starts to come. Leo, come. Good boy. That's a bribe. So we don't want to show our dog that we have food and then call them. Leo, come. Doing that will increase the chance that your dog will only come to you if they see you have food. We want to call them, and then when they make the choice to come to us, then we show them that they're going to get food. Leo, come. Yes. So let's talk about where to deliver the food. We call this reward delivery. This is really important. How you're giving the food, where you're giving it, all that will affect your dog's behavior when they get to you. So we want to make sure we're not teaching our dog to jump up for the treat when they get to us. Leo, come. Yes. So hold your hand down low enough that they can reach it without having to jump up. Yes!
Good job, buddy.
We also want our dogs coming ideally straight in front of us. It's okay if they're slightly to our side, but we want to try to encourage them to be in front. So when we reward, usually we bring our hand to the center of our body here.
Leo, come. Yes. Good job, buddy.
We also want our dogs coming close to us. So when we feed, we usually feed really close to our body. If you're bringing the food to them like that, most likely you're gonna teach them to stop short of you. Whereas again, the closer they are, the better, as long as they're not slamming into us. So if your dog is very physical and comes and slams into you, it might be better to push the treat into them, feed them a little bit away from you, but for the most part, we want them coming close to us.
Leo, come. Yes.
With many dogs, we'll actually back up as we're feeding them. This is really helpful for dogs that are a little apprehensive about coming close to you. It helps draw them into you a little bit more.
Leo, come. Yes. Good. Nice.
Never call your dog to you when you're gonna do something they don't like. So for example, if your dog doesn't like nail trims, don't recall your dog and then when they come to you, start trimming their nails. We always want coming to us to mean something positive. So almost always we will either reward them with food or we'll praise them. Something good should happen. And that's it for part 1. Make sure to watch part 2 where we'll talk about how to use the leash as well as some other really important tools.